In 1992, the world's most feared boxer, a man who could end a fight in seconds, found himself in a place where strength meant survival, not glory. Mike Tyson, the youngest heavyweight champion in history, was stripped of his titles, his wealth, and his freedom. At just 25, Iron Mike walked through the gates of the Indiana Youth Center, not as a champion, but as inmate number 922335. For years, he had ruled the ring with raw fury. Trained by the legendary Cus D'Amato, Tyson was taught that discipline and fear could conquer anything. But prison was not the ring. Here, there were no referees, no contracts, no applause, only power, and those desperate to keep it. In March 1992, the verdict came: guilty of rape. Tyson was sentenced to 6 years in prison, a shocking collapse for a man who, just a few years earlier, had been worth $300 million and hailed as the baddest man on the planet. They can take away my title, they can take away my money, but they can't take away who I am. It was the arrogance of a fighter who had never known defeat, except now, defeat wasn't a single punch. It was time, isolation, shame. When Tyson entered the Indiana Youth Center, the other inmates didn't see a champion. They saw a symbol of power, of fame, of everything they didn't have. And in a world governed by control, that made him both a target and a prize. The first weeks were silent. Tyson barely spoke. Guards expected chaos. Instead, they found calm. He worked in the chapel library, read philosophy, and spent hours in solitude. He read The Art of War, the autobiography of Malcolm X and Nietzsche. The man who once embodied physical destruction was now seeking intellectual rebirth. Tyson later said, "Prison is a good place to find out who you are." But even there, identity was dangerous. Inmates tested him, small provocations, insults, stares. Yet Tyson refused to react. He'd smile, nod, and walk away. For months, violence never came. He didn't talk much. He'd work out alone, help with the pigeons outside, but everyone watched him. Everyone wanted to see if Iron Mike would snap. In prison, respect is currency. Silence can be misread as weakness, and Mike Tyson, no matter how quiet, could not escape being Mike Tyson. Rumors began, whispers in the yard that someone would challenge him just to claim the legend. Others said Tyson had gone soft. To some inmates, proving dominance over him meant rewriting their own story. One day, the line was crossed. Accounts differ. Some say it happened in the recreation yard, others in the cafeteria. An inmate, known for his gang connections, insulted Tyson, loudly, publicly. Tyson tried to walk away. The man followed. What happened next became prison folklore. No cameras, no guards in sight. Just a moment. Sudden, electric, a single explosion of instinct. The fight didn't last long, but it changed everything. In the chaos of that encounter, something deeper revealed itself. Tyson wasn't just fighting another man. He was fighting his past, his rage, and the version of himself that had once destroyed everything he touched. That moment wasn't about dominance. It was about survival. And paradoxically, it earned him something he hadn't expected: peace. After that, nobody messed with him, not because they feared him, but because they respected him. He never bragged, he never talked about it, he just went back to reading his books. It was an awakening. Tyson had entered prison as a god stripped of his temple. He was learning to live as a man stripped to his soul. By 1994, Mike Tyson's transformation was unmistakable. He converted to Islam, adopting the name Malik Abdul Aziz. He studied history and philosophy, and even earned respect from correctional officers. The same man who once terrified the world was now speaking softly to fellow inmates about faith, forgiveness, and redemption. Everyone in here is fighting something. Some fights you can't see. In here, I learned the hardest one is inside your own head. The media outside speculated endlessly about Tyson's return, whether he'd ever fight again. But inside, the real battle was for his mind. He began writing letters to his mentor, Cus D'Amato's memory, the man who'd once told him, "A hero and a coward both feel the same thing, but it's what the hero does that makes him different." Tyson, for the first time, was trying to be the hero. In March 1995, after serving 3 years, Mike Tyson walked free. Cameras flashed, reporters shouted, fans screamed. He didn't smile. He looked older, calmer, as if he had seen something few could ever understand. Freedom for him was no longer about open space or roaring crowds. It was about control, the kind that comes from within. "I don't think I'm the same person I was when I came in. I've been humbled, I've been broken, and I'm learning to build myself again." But rebuilding wasn't easy. The world still saw him through the eyes of 1988, the invincible champion, the destroyer. Yet prison had given Tyson something rare, a mirror that didn't lie. Decades later, Mike Tyson would look back on those years not as wasted time, but as necessary pain. He once said, "I needed to lose everything to understand what matters." And in many ways, that mythic prison fight, the one that whispered about for years, wasn't about violence at all. It was the moment when Iron Mike finally met his true opponent, himself. For the world, Mike Tyson's story was about a boxer who rose, fell, and rose again. But for those who look closer, it's about something more profound, a human being learning that strength without peace is just another kind of prison. In the years since, he's become an unlikely philosopher, a man who quotes Socrates, speaks of compassion, and warns others about the dangers of ego. He built a life around reflection, not rage. A farm, a podcast, a voice, not to intimidate, but to understand. The old me would destroy everything. The new me just wants peace. That's the real fight, keeping that peace. History remembers champions for their victories, but sometimes the greatest battles are the ones fought in silence, behind bars, within the heart. Mike Tyson's story reminds us that no one is beyond redemption, that even iron can bend, and when it does, it becomes something stronger. In a world obsessed with power, Tyson's journey tells us that the truest strength is not found in the punch, but in the man who learns when not to throw it. Sometimes the hardest fight is the one you fight alone.